Elena Voss stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse, the city lights sprawling below like a glittering sea of forgotten dreams. The storm outside raged, rain lashing against the glass in furious sheets, mirroring the turmoil twisting in her chest. She turned to face him, Alex Rivera, her ever-reliable assistant, the man who had become her shadow over the past 2 years. His dark hair was tousled from the wind they'd braved earlier, and his eyes, those deep brown pools, held a question she wasn't ready to answer. "Alex," she whispered, her voice barely cutting through the thunder, "if I stay tonight, I don't trust myself. I won't be able to hold back." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken desire, as lightning illuminated the raw vulnerability on her face. But before he could respond, a deafening crack split the sky, and the power flickered out, plunging them into darkness, leaving her heart pounding, wondering if this was the moment everything would shatter. In that suffocating blackness, Elena's mind raced back to how it all began. She was the billionaire CEO of Voss Enterprises, a tech empire she'd built from the ashes of a broken marriage. At 38, she was a force, sharp, unyielding, her life a meticulously curated fortress of boardrooms and private jets. Love? It was a liability she'd sworn off after her ex-husband's betrayal, a wound that had scarred her deeper than any business deal gone wrong. Alex had entered her world as a fresh-faced 28-year-old, hired for his organizational genius and unassuming charm. He wasn't like the others, polished executives with agendas. Alex came from a modest family in a small town, working his way through night school to afford his dreams. He handled her schedule with quiet efficiency, anticipated her needs before she voiced them, and in those late-night strategy sessions, he'd listen to her vent about the isolation of her success. At first, it was professional admiration. But then came the stolen glances, the accidental brushes of hands over documents, the way his laughter warmed the sterile office air. Elena felt it creeping in, an emotional connection she hadn't allowed in years. Trust was her enemy, destiny, a cruel joke. Yet here he was, standing in her penthouse during a blackout, the air thick with possibility. As the emergency lights hummed to life, casting a dim glow over the room, Alex stepped closer. "Ms. Voss, Elena," he corrected himself, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "What do you mean? Hold back from what?" Her heart clenched. She could see the hope in his eyes, the same hope she'd been fighting in herself. But vulnerability terrified her. What if he saw her not as the invincible billionaire, but as the woman who cried alone at night? She turned away, gripping the edge of the bar cart. "You should go, Alex. The roads are flooding, I'll call you a car." But he didn't move. Instead, he reached out, his fingers grazing her arm, sending a jolt through her. "I'm not leaving you like this. Not tonight." The tension built like the storm outside, and just as she leaned in, ready to bridge the gap, her phone buzzed harshly on the table, urgent call from her board, pulling her back to reality. She answered, her voice snapping to professional mode, but inside, she ached. Would he wait? Or had she just pushed him away for good? The days that followed were a whirlwind of denial and longing. Elena threw herself into work, expanding Voss Enterprises into new markets, her days filled with mergers and acquisitions that demanded her full attention. Alex was there, as always, but now with a subtle distance, a polite nod instead of a lingering smile, emails instead of in-person briefings. She missed him terribly, the way he'd challenge her ideas gently, making her feel seen beyond her title. One evening, after a grueling negotiation, she found him in the office kitchen, brewing coffee. "Alex, about that night." She started, her voice trembling. He looked up, his expression guarded. "It's fine, Elena. I understand boundaries." But it wasn't fine. That night, as they worked late on a presentation, their hands met over the keyboard. Time slowed. She pulled back first, but not before feeling the spark ignite something deeper. "This can't happen," she murmured. "I'm your boss. The world would tear us apart." He shook his head. The world doesn't get a say in how I feel. Their eyes locked, the air charged, and just as lips nearly met, the door burst open, her CFO, oblivious, with urgent news of a stock dip. Elena's heart sank. Another interruption, another missed chance. Was fate conspiring against them, or was she sabotaging herself? Personal growth came in painful waves for Elena. She attended therapy sessions in secret, unpacking the layers of distrust from her past. Her ex had used her wealth as a weapon, cheating and leaving her questioning every motive. Alex, meanwhile, wrestled with his own struggles. Coming from nothing, he feared being seen as a gold digger, a label that haunted his thoughts. He confided in his sister over phone calls, admitting how Elena made him feel alive, worthy. She's not just my boss, sis. She's everything. Yet doubt crept in. One weekend, Elena invited him to her coastal retreat for a work retreat, but it was a ruse to spend time alone. They walked the beach at sunset, waves crashing like her emotions. Alex, I built this empire to prove I didn't need anyone, she confessed, sand between her toes. But with you, I feel like I could let go. He stopped, turning to her. Then let go, Elena. Trust me. Their kiss was inevitable, passionate, a release of pent-up tension. But as night fell, vulnerability hit. What if I'm not enough? He whispered. She reassured him, but deep down, her fears lingered. That night, wrapped in each other's arms, hope bloomed, but morning brought a storm. The major emotional conflict erupted like a volcano. A tabloid leak hit the next day, photos of their beach walk, headlines screaming, "Billionaire boss seduces assistant." Elena's board panicked, stocks wobbled. She confronted Alex in her office, her voice cracking. Did you tip them off? For money? For fame? Hurt flashed in his eyes. How could you think that? After everything? It was a misunderstanding born of her scars. Turns out, a jealous rival had orchestrated it. But words were weapons. I warned you, she said, tears streaming. I don't trust myself not to ruin this. He stormed out, heartbroken, leaving her alone in her glass tower. Sacrifice followed. Alex quit, taking a job at a startup, determined to prove his worth independently. Elena dove deeper into work, but emptiness consumed her. Months passed in agony. She attended galas solo, smiling through the pain, while he built his new life, dating casually but comparing everyone to her. Destiny teased them, bumping into each other at a conference, eyes meeting across the room, hearts aching. The first additional cliffhanger came during that chance encounter. Elena approached him at the networking event, her designer gown hiding a racing pulse. Alex, can we talk? He nodded, leading her to a quiet balcony. I was wrong, she admitted. I let my past blind me. Tears welled as he softened. I miss you every day. They leaned in, the city hummed below, but just as forgiveness seemed sealed with a kiss, his phone rang, his new boss, demanding he return inside for a deal. He hesitated, torn. Elena, But duty called him away, leaving her on the balcony, wind whipping her hair, wondering if this was goodbye forever. Heartbreak deepened. She returned to her penthouse, sobbing over old photos, realizing her empire meant nothing without love. Alex, too, struggled, confiding in friends about the void she left. She made me believe in destiny, he said, voice breaking. Hope flickered in unexpected ways. Elena sought personal growth, volunteering at charities Alex had mentioned, finding fulfillment beyond wealth. She learned to trust, to let walls crumble. One rainy night, echoing their first, she drove to his apartment. Alex, she said at his door, soaked and vulnerable. I sacrificed my pride to be here. I love you. He pulled her inside, but tension lingered. What about the power imbalance? Your world. The second cliffhanger built, as they argued passionately, a knock interrupted, his date for the evening, unaware. Elena's face fell, misunderstanding flaring. I see. You've moved on. She fled into the rain, heart shattering anew. But Alex chased her, yelling through the downpour. It's not what you think. She's just a friend. He caught her, spinning her around. Elena, you're my destiny. I choose you. In that moment of sacrifice, Alex quit his new job, vowing to build something together, equals. Elena stepped back from CEO duties, delegating to focus on them. Their reunion was emotional, kisses mixed with tears, promises of growth. They traveled, mended wounds, built a life where trust was the foundation. Love deepened, an emotional connection unbreakable. Years later, married in a quiet ceremony, they reflected on their journey, heartbreak forging strength, misunderstandings teaching empathy, hope rewarding faith. As their story faded into a warm sunset, Elena whispered, "If I stay tonight, I trust us completely." And in that trust, they found forever. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional love stories.